Hello, everybody. Today I have a very special game to bring you all. It is a 2v2 on Red Triangle, and it is between four very good players. Here on the right side, we have Rampage in the red. We have Rock in the orange. We have Harald in the blue. And we have Combat Disc in the purple. Now, if you were following the TA Escalation Pro 2021 tournament, you will know that Combat Disc and Harald were in the grand finals together. So these are arguably the two best players right now in the Escalation community. I don't know about the logic of putting them on the same team, though it could have just been a random. Sometimes when we do these games, we just leave it up to fate. However the game puts the teams on the map, puts the players on the map in random positions, then they just team up based on the spot they were given. So yeah, either way, certainly putting Harald and Harry on the same team is scary. Now this is a modified Red Triangle. Red Triangle was one of the original maps from the original game. And this version of it is almost the same, but instead of having little metal spots, it has these squares that give a massive amount of income. So, the economies on these starting islands have a much larger output. It's almost like a pseudo metal map. And then here in the bottom island, of course, we have more metal spots. And in the middle, this is much more like what the original looked like. Just these random metal spots all over the place, as opposed to these giant metal boxes, metal zones that have a massive output. So, yeah, definitely a kind of reimagined Red Triangle, but ultimately the map does play the same. The players are going to want to get control of the sea and try to take control of these auxiliary islands if they can. I do have to say, I love water maps. Water maps are my favorite types of games to cast. Naval Combat and Total Annihilation, and the Total Annihilation spinoffs like Supreme Commander or any of the TA Spring mods. It's the coolest naval warfare in any RTS, bar none. I challenge you to name another RTS in the comments that does naval combat in more of a glorious and amazing way than the TA games do. I mean, you just have everything. You have cruisers, you have destroyers, you have battleships, you have submarines, you have mines. You have, tactical missiles. You have aircraft carriers. You have just, you name it, it's in here, right? And I just honestly feel like the TA naval battles are just a sight to behold, a spectacle to witness. And certainly we are looking forward to that in this game. Might we even see T3 naval? If you've watched my channel for any amount of time, you will know how desperate I am for some T3 naval matches. I do love me some Tech 3 naval battles. It's just destruction on an unparalleled scale. We would love to see that in this game. If we could, pray to the TA gods that we can witness some T3 naval warfare. Of course, if you are new to Escalation, TA Escalation is... it's a mod on top of original Total Annihilation, which adds a whole new tech level to the game. So now there is T3 naval, which means we're talking about a whole nother order of magnitude of power of battleships and massive, oversized, fleets, and it's actually hard to even explain. You just have to witness it firsthand. But anyway, I think I've talked enough. Let's get into the game here. Both players doing a very defensive start. Neither player has even sent a scout that I've seen. And, it really surprises me. I have to say, Rock here started air, right? He started this air factory. And a single bomber, if he had built a single bomber, if you want to look on this western island, there is not any air defense at all. I mean, they've got almost 6 mohos here. They've got geos. They've got a resource generator. Not a single defender anywhere, at least on the south side. I guess on the north side, Combat Disc has been, smart enough to build some anti-air K-bots, but his friend here has no air defense to be seen anywhere, so a few bombers could absolutely cripple his economy. Certainly, Harald taking a massive risk early on by deciding not to build any air defense, and we'll have to see how that pays off. In the east side, Harald has sent a small fleet of Pelicans. Pelican's a ARM T2 amphibious floating K-bot. In the original game, they had anti-air missiles and lasers, but in escalation, they lose the anti-air capability to gain a very powerful kind of Gauss cannon that does an insane amount of direct damage and a torpedo that is good against naval. But it does seem like the eastern team has been the first to claim this southern island. They are currently building some mohos on it. As I said at the start of this cast, it is very important to grab the land on this map. The more map control you can get, the better off you might be. And so the east team at this point has claimed that bottom island, and it is a veritable treasure trove of metal and energy with all these geospots. So if the south team can hold that island, they might be in a really good position going forward. It would certainly give them a positional advantage and also perhaps an economic advantage over their opponents. But as I say that, Harald bringing down a small fleet of Pelicans to take out that geo. And as I was just mentioning, these Pelicans are no joke. They are a very, very powerful unit in escalation. They can no longer shoot air, but they more than make up for it with their extremely powerful direct attacks. And it does look like Rock building his own Pelicans to kind of counter, desperately attempting to hold on to this island and maintain this positional control. In the meantime, it does look like Harald now on T2 ships building some Conquerors and also on advanced K-bots and building an advanced aircraft plant. And he has done a drop here. Harald has done a drop of Mavericks. This is going to be very tough to stop because this single Sentinel just not going to be enough to stop the overwhelming firepower of those Mavericks. And so, yeah, the team on the left will take this island for their own. They will push off their oppressors and claim this land for their own. So, very impressive Maverick drop there by the Western team. Bringing some more, it seems, bringing another drop down as we say that. Let's look at the bases here. Harald building some underwater fusion reactors. There is a reason for this. The underwater fusion reactors are much harder to detect and kill than the above land reactors. So, for example, Combat Disc, building those, any one of these being bombed will cause a chain reaction that will probably take out just about everything in this area. But the underwater fusion reactors are much harder to detect and kill in that manner. So, yep, Harald definitely going the safer route in this game. sending up a couple conquerors through the right side, but this warlord is ready for those. The warlord is the core T2 battleship. It has a combination of a green laser Gatling gun and these powerful long-range battleship cannons. They are very strong in naval combat, especially if they can keep at a distance. They don't want to get surrounded. If they get surrounded by smaller ships, they can sometimes get kind of overwhelmed. But if they can keep their opponents at a distance, they will certainly melt through any kind of naval force. But here in the top, Harald's sending an archer. And these archers are quite scary. They, the archer is the T2 anti-air cruiser. They can tear apart any kind of air force with relative ease. But crucially, in escalation, they also do very well in naval combat as well, especially against subs, because they just have these rapid firing depth charges, as you can see here. They are very scary to deal with, very hard to deal with. But yeah, let's see what the players are doing. Combat disc here on 2 advanced aircraft plants and 6 fusions, so he's just kind of beefing up his economy. And Harald now going to T3 K-bots, in addition to this T2 ships that he continues to build. And he's also on T2 Air. He has some Hawks here in the middle. Looks like the bot team in firm control of this, the west team in firm control of this southern island. And this one archer continuing to be a menace. And it will finally, I think, be taken out by this small fleet of Corsairs. Corsairs, kind of like the mini archer. They are the T1 anti-air and kind of anti-sub ship. Here in the bottom, we have a battle between warlords, archers, and conquerors. And as I said before, these warlords will get swarmed. If they get surrounded, they will struggle. So you definitely want to keep them at a distance. Give those warlords kind of a frigate screen or a destroyer screen so that they can stay at a range, at their effective range, and pump out that massive damage of, cannons and green lasers. So great job by Harald surrounding those 2 warlords with his fleet of conquerors. The Conqueror is the ARM T2 cruiser. They are specifically designed to rule the sea. They are very good in naval combat and really not much good at anything else. They're not like the, for example, the battleships that we just saw, which can also shell land at a pretty good distance. They have kind of a dual purpose. No, the Conquerors are specifically suited and designed for that chunky naval combat, and they will excel in that role, especially in mass. So, yeah, here we have Rampage also building Core's version of the cruiser, the Executioner, and the Shredders. So, very similar army compositions here between red and blue, and we'll have to see if they want to take an engagement. Both players massing these advanced fighters. As I've said in previous casts, aerial dominance is so important in TA escalation. So both teams seem to understand that, and they are building those air superiority fighters en masse to try to claim control. But it feels like Rampage has the bigger naval armada here, and that will chase Harald off. And so, again, though, the Western team, I think, does have an advantage in terms of economy just because they have this bottom island and they are making full use of the resources here. Now, to be honest, just looking at the mega map, I'm surprised that no team has really tried to take this middle island. This middle island, it does have quite a bit of metal on it, but also the middle island will give you a positional advantage. You can build radars on the middle island. You can build a base. You could create kind of a beachhead. You could send raiding parties of hovercrafts or amphibious units over to your opponent. You could build some long-range plasma cannons. Really, the possibilities are endless, and neither player has even attempted, it seems, to attempt to take this middle spot. They're content to just leave it as a no man's land. So, yep, kind of surprising there that there has been no battle over this island. But either way, we have a monitor now out by Combat Disc. The monitor is I believe it is a T3 hovercraft that is just, it's just kind of a floating monster. It has a bit of everything. It's got some powerful frontline lasers. It's got some anti-air defense, and overall very scary to deal with. But as I say that, Rampage sending down a force, this force of executioners and shredders and corsairs that I talked about earlier, and they will run headlong into this monitor, this T3 battle hovercraft, and also some rapiers joining into the fight. Very cool, very unique engagement. We just don't see these units very often. This is the first time I think I've ever seen a monitor in a professional game, or in a serious competitive game. And just looking at its health, it's barely taken any damage at all. At the same time, Harald bringing up this arc light, and this is the ARM T3 kind of cruiser. It's got an unbelievable combination of lightning turrets and these advanced torpedo launcher, and it is a specialist at taking out other ships. It is kind of the bane of the sea, if you want to think of it that way. And here a second one now coming into direct combat with this executioner. So overall, it's clear that the Western team just has such an economic advantage. Harald now on 2 T3 shipyards, and also an T3 KMOT lab. Has just finished, it seems, his heavy fusion reactor. And here on the eastern corner of the map, this attack that Harald has been, this group of units that he's just kind of kept waiting for quite a while, this combination of conquerors and archers, now moving up and going to attempt to get something done in combat here with rock. And here in the north, a group of rapiers and these 2 arc lights will make their way up the north side of the map. So yeah, here Harald attacking on 2 fronts. On one front, this combination of conquerors and archers, and on the other front, this army, or excuse me, this small fleet. They might as well be an army of arc lights, which are the the ARM T3. I don't know what you'd call them. They're not. I guess they're battleships, but they're kind of like a hybrid between a battleship and a cruiser. They are specifically designed to rule the sea. They don't have the range of a battleship, and they don't have the plasma shells. They instead have these 2 incredibly powerful lightning cannons and an advanced torpedo launcher, making them good against all forms of naval threats, including submarines and underwater defenses like the lamprey that just got taken out. And the Eastern team here is going to struggle, I think, to mount an effective defense. They are only on T2 naval, and it seems as though this entire southern portion of their fleet has been wiped out. Both shipyards have been wiped out. And these archers, as they get in range of the island, will begin to absolutely tear apart any kind of aerial threat or construction aircraft that flies into their range. So it is looking very bad for the Eastern team here. A bit of an air battle going on at the top. Rampage has snuck a decimator all the way across the map and is now going to try to get some damage done. He takes out 2 aircraft plants. Takes out... Oh, he almost got an Aegis, so probably not as much damage as he needed to get done there. The Eastern team is on T3 air, but that's just not a great option right now because, well, their base is getting closed in on from all angles by the likes of Harald. And the truth is, these archers are the bane of any kind of air's existence. These archers are going to absolutely clean up all types of air. Even T3 air would be hard-pressed to do much of anything with this number of T2 anti-air cruisers. So, yeah, the East team in a lot of trouble. And I think ultimately, Rampage calling GG. Yeah. It's not looking so good here. Combat Disc bringing in these rapiers here on the shoreline, these arc lights, and here in the south. Even though, well, these conquerors are able to reach further in than I thought. But yeah, this whole island slowly being picked apart by the naval force just waiting on the shoreline. And yeah, it seems like the Eastern team definitely going to struggle. Rampage, I think, does commit seppuku there. He kind of control D's out of the game, and his opponent Rock will most likely follow. So overall, amazing game between these two teams. Getting to see T3 Naval is always a treat. Awesome game to watch and to cast. And I have to say, I think the reason that the Western team was able to clutch that victory was just because they had such a massive economic lead. Getting control of that southern island allowed them to get so far ahead in terms of metal and energy that they were able to advance to T3 Naval. And then once they got control of the sea, it was just all kind of downhill from there. Of course, the Eastern team did go T3 Air, and that was good. But as I said, archers are extremely strong against any kind of aerial threat, and Harald had a lot of them. He had quite an army of archers, and that will make it difficult even for T3 Air to get much done. Plus, both Combat Disc and Harald were building an endless fleet of Hawks, the T2 aerial superiority fighter. So overall, awesome game. It's amazing to see this kind of late game naval technology being used, and we hope to see more games like that. So congratulations to the Western team, and thank you for watching.